Crackdown on independent media outlets is in full stride at the moment. I want to take a look here what's going on over at Alternet. Now, Alternet is an outlet that sometimes I like them, sometimes I dislike them. I certainly don't agree with everything they put out there. Sometimes they buy too much into that Russia conspiracy stuff, which is ridiculous. Sometimes they have writers who are fairly significantly to the left of me. But they also quite often are a voice for people who are doing great work. Rania Khalek traveled to fucking Syria to see what's going on and to report on it firsthand. Alternet's run a bunch of her stuff. Max Blumenthal has done some great reporting. They've had his stuff as well. So they do a good job with a lot of stuff, and I think they're a very vital part to a very vital news outlet they provide a voice that's distinct, and it's something that you don't get anywhere else. But now they're being threatened. And they're being threatened for similar things that we talk about all the time with the YouTube adpocalypse, for example. So let's see what they have to say. In June, Google announced major changes in its algorithm designed to combat fake news. Ben Gomes, the company's vice president for engineering, stated in April that Google's update of its search engine would block access to offensive sites while working to surface more authoritative content. This seemed like a good idea, fighting fake news, which Trump often uses to advance his interests and rally his supporters. It is an important goal that Alternet shares. But little did we know that Google had decided, perhaps with bad advice or wrong-headed thinking, that media like Alternet dedicated to fighting white supremacy, misogyny, racism, Donald Trump, and fake news, would be clobbered by Google in its clumsy attempt to address hate speech and fake news. The numbers are striking. We have had consistent search traffic averaging 2.7 million unique visitors a month over the past 2.5 years. Search traffic makes up 30 to 40% of Alternet's overall traffic. But since the June Google announcement, Alternet's search traffic has plummeted by 40%, a loss of an average of 1.2 million people every month who are no longer reading Alternet's stories. Wow. That is a gigantic drop, and that's not just within the standard margin of error. Whoops, I guess it's just slower growth because of no external circumstances. No. That's because of external circumstances. There's no doubt about it. For those of you who don't know how this stuff works, whether it's your own website or if it's a YouTube channel, you have relatively consistent trends. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're gaining 30,000 subscribers a month on YouTube. Well, that means on any given month you can, and this is the biggest swing imaginable, you can gain 45,000 at most, or at the very least 15,000. There's a relative range where the range will not deviate. If that's the trajectory of your growth, that's what happens. Well, it's the same thing with these kinds of websites. Like, okay, we get X amount of viewers a month, and we gain X amount more, and if you're going along steady, and then all of a sudden you plummet, and you lose 1.2 million people every month, something's wrong there. And they're accurately pointing out that it's Google's algorithm. Now, they're being more kind to Google than I'm willing to be. Because they're saying, oh, we are fucking, we're collateral damage in the genuine attempt to crack down on fake news. No, you're not collateral damage. Trying to limit the access to outlets like yours is the fucking point. Because you're included on the same fucking list as InfoWars and even alt-right hate sites. That's what they do. They're putting you on that list because, and literally, it was on, like, Washington Post released a list from some unknown group that's like, oh, here's the fake news, peddlers. And then on the list, you had outlets like Truthout and Counterpunch and Alternet listed alongside, like, literally neo-Nazi websites and InfoWars and shit. So they're saying far left and far right. It's equal. It's equal. They're equally full of shit. So they put them all on the list and then have the algorithm hurt those people. And that's exactly what's happening now, even though it should go without saying, and every reasonable person knows there's no fucking comparison between Alternet and Daily Stormer or InfoWars. Alternet might, miss the mark from time to time, but you're going to get some very important reporting there that you're not going to get other places. There's a lot of shit that we learned about Syria through reporting that came out from Alternet that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And they're suppressing that. Because guess what? In the minds of these people, if you're super far right and you're alt-right and you're a Trump loyalist, you're a peddler of fake news, but also if you're one of those unapologetic Bernie supporters, you're fake news. So they try to tie together the so-called far left and the far right, say, oh, you're equally fake. And look, I've told you a zillion times, it's affecting us tremendously. It's obviously affecting Alternet. It's affecting myself and every other, populist left YouTuber you know of. And yes, it's not just the left. There's also right-wing YouTubers who are feeling it too, no doubt about it. But I know firsthand it's affecting us. So just another example, when it comes to our subgrowth, the numbers I was using before, that was our numbers. Now, I get it. It was during the height of the election, so the election is a big factor that would increase the number of subscribers. But we went from adding like 30,000 a month to now it's like 3,000. Some of that drop-off is natural because the election's over, so there's not as big of a bump in news and politics. But no, some of it is our videos aren't as prioritized as they used to be. If you watch Secular Talk a lot, you might get us in the recommended videos, but for people who haven't watched it before, it's much less likely that they're going to get Secular Talk in their recommended video section. And so the subgrowth has plummeted. I've told you guys a zillion times there was one point where we were on a blacklist and we got no ads. Now we're off the blacklist, but we still have what seems to be a permanent 60% cut in our revenue. I know it's a similar circumstance for other YouTubers who do what we do. So I just want everybody to understand adpocalypse isn't over. This war from the establishment press on independent outlets is not over. Alternet's another example of it. So just support whoever you like and who you get your news from and who you think is doing a good job. And in the YouTube realm, I'm going to put up on the screen right now for everybody that's our Patreon, and I'll put Patreons of other people who do what we do, outlets that you might listen to, and if you don't listen to them, go check them out. But those are our Patreons. It's the best way to support the show if you just give a few bucks a month to various outlets that you like. That helps so much, and that makes everything possible, because it used to be the case we could do it without bugging you guys and asking you for this, but now that's not the case. Now that's not the case, and you can blame YouTube and their shitty algorithm and their crackdown on independent outlets. You can blame Google and their shitty algorithm, because yes, they're treating alt-right sites and InfoWars the same way that they treat us and the same way they treat Alternet and outlets that are actually doing good work.